Good evening and thank you for tuning in to the latest Hurricane Tracker app video update recorded Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017 around 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, if you remember, just a few days ago we were tracking Tropical Storm Harvey in the Caribbean Sea. Tropical Storm Harvey dissipated due to the effects of wind shear, but the leftover moisture and the surface trough axis has been moving towards the west over the past couple of days. And in fact, the broad area of low pressure is now moving off of the coast of the Yucatan into the southern Gulf of Mexico. And throughout the day today, the system has become better defined. You can see here on the satellite loop that the system does have a cyclonic spin to it. There's a broad area of low pressure with new thunderstorms and convection developing near that broad area of low pressure. And the National Hurricane Center does state there is a near 100% chance of development over the next few days, as the system will track generally towards the coast of Texas here over the next couple of days. And there still is going to be some question as to exactly where the center forms. It could very well form in the low levels here. It could form a little farther towards the north, or maybe even a little farther towards the west. And of course, depending upon where the center forms, could affect the track as the system approaches the coastline this weekend. So basically, if the system were to form farther towards the north, we could see a track further up the Texas coast. And on the other side of the token, if the center were to form more towards the south or west, it may have a better chance of tracking into Mexico. But for right now, based on the latest guidance, it looks like the system should develop in this general region and track generally towards the lower to middle portions of the Texas coastline by the time we get into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The latest computer model guidance is in pretty good agreements. These are the ensemble members for the European model on your left side of the screen, and for the GFS model here on the right side of your screen. And you can see they are in pretty good agreement that Harvey will move towards the northwest, again generally towards the lower to middle portions of the Texas coastline. And then once it approaches Texas, it's going to slow down, and even once it's inland, it could slow down or stall due to weak forecasted steering currents, which we'll show you in just a few moments. And then once the system is done meandering over south or southeastern Texas, it should eventually move off towards the east-northeast, towards the lower portions of the Mississippi Valley. And right now the computer model guidance is in fairly good agreement with that scenario. And anytime you get within 3 to 4 days of a landfalling system, usually the model guidance is pretty good, and they begin to agree on a final solution, within at least a few days of a potential landfall. So we're not talking about a storm that's 5, 7, 10 days away, where there's still lots of time for the models to flip. So that's certainly not the case. Over the last 2 to 3 model cycles, the models have really been converging here on the lower to middle portions of the Texas coastline. Now, once Harvey is inland over south central Texas, this is the latest forecast from the GFS model as of 18Z, which was this afternoon. Looking at the 500 millibar heights in the upper atmosphere, the GFS and also the European model for that matter is forecasting 2 areas of high pressure, one to the west of Harvey and one to the east of Harvey. And high pressures will act to block tropical systems, so the Harvey wouldn't be able to track further towards the west or to the east. It may just kind of sit here and stall out and meander over portions of south central or southeastern Texas, and that is going to possibly lead to a major flooding event. And heavy rains, flooding, training of rain bands is appearing to be the most likely threat from this system as it moves towards Texas later this week. Computer model guidance is showing that this system could become a strong tropical storm or even a Category 1 hurricane, and that's all going to be contingent upon how quickly this system can have a more defined low-level center instead of a broad area of low pressure at this point. So if the faster it's able to consolidate and develop, the greater the chances of the system becoming a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Over the next couple days, there's going to be a little bit of southwesterly wind shear, as we do have an upper level low situated across the northern Gulf of Mexico, and that upper level low is causing some wind shear, but this upper level low is going to be moving out of the picture, and by the time we get into Wednesday evening through Friday, Harvey should have a favorable environment to strengthen here over the western Gulf of Mexico. Because of the weak steering flow that is set up, that is forecasted by the models, there is the potential of an erratic path. This is the European model run from this afternoon. You can see it brings Harvey into south central Texas, then actually pushes it back to the southeast over the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico with a second landfall in southwest Louisiana. Keep in mind, this is just one model run, but we have seen this from a few different models, and with the way the steering flow is forecasted to set up, this is a possibility. And of course, if the storm were to move inland, move back over the Gulf, and then back to the north, again, this could lead to some very serious flooding problems. Right now, the WPC is forecasting up to, let's see here, 10, possibly even 15 inches of rain here in the yellow shaded area near Galveston. Of course, most of the rainfall with this system is going to occur to the north and east of where the center makes landfall. So right now, the primary threat for the heaviest rainfall is going to be southeast Texas, and that could easily extend here into portions of western Louisiana as we get into later in the weekend. And of course, early next week here, heavy rains could approach the portions of the Mississippi Valley. I want to take a look at the latest Hurricane Tracker app potential cone. So you can see, we do believe by tomorrow evening, about 24 hours from now, Harvey should be a depression here in the Gulf of Mexico. It'll track towards the northwest, becoming a tropical storm likely by Thursday, and possibly even a hurricane by Friday, again, if it's able to take advantage of the favorable conditions in the Gulf of Mexico. It should move inland into south central Texas. Again, it could meander around Saturday and Sunday before eventually lifting off towards the northeast as this area of high pressure weakens here over the southeastern United States. And our confidence level right now is medium to high, again, as we are getting within 3 to 4 days of the system possibly affecting land. Based on the latest data, we have issued increased 5-day alert levels basically from northeastern Mexico through the entire Texas coast into western Louisiana. And basically what elevated alert levels means is you're in an increased risk of being impacted by an active or developing tropical cyclone. You may want to build or restock your basic disaster supplies kit, including food, water, flashlight, batteries, chargers for your electronic devices. Get some cash out of the ATM, fill your car up with gas, and just familiarize yourself with local emergency plans and know what you would do, what plan you would execute. It's been a long couple days. What plans you would execute if watches or warnings were issued for your area. Further down the coast here in Mexico, still not completely out of the woods. We do have guarded alert levels here and guarded alert levels for central and Louisiana, and even low alert levels for the southeastern areas of Louisiana, including the New Orleans area, as there is the potential we could see rain bands over farther to the east than forecasted. So that's something we're going to be watching for the next few days. And again, so Harvey's going to be tracking towards the north-northwest, should be developing into a tropical storm, possibly a hurricane. Right now, wind is not going to be the major threat unless the system can really get its act together here over the western Gulf of Mexico. But heavy rainfall, again, up to a foot of rain, even more. We've seen some model runs up to 2 feet of rain. And again, that is looking more likely as the steering flow could be very weak, and Harvey could basically just meander here across south central, southeastern Texas throughout the weekend and into early next week. Stay tuned here at the Hurricane Tracker app for all the latest on Harvey. we will be here with the latest updates from the Hurricane Center. And thank you so much for watching, and hope you have a great evening.